Another Monday, another Milan weekly podcast. What do we have in store for our peeps today? We're going to talk about, some international, our beloved international break, Steve, some possible injuries, people doping, an upcoming derby, a possible sale of Juve. You got to leave it to Serie A, right, to give us even in a week with no Serie A, some good news. And on that note, are we ready, sir?
We are ready. Let's go.
Welcome to the Milan Weekly Podcast, the English voice of Milan fans all over the world, with your hosts, Vinny T and Stevie P.
Benvenuti nella casa
Giroud in area, si gira, sinistro, rete, gol capolavoro di Olivier Giroud.
Mignon with another magical save.
Hernandez, coast to coast, del numero 19.
Leao carica il mancino. Eccolo qua, Rafa Leao.
Cari amici sportivi, welcome you to another edition of the Milan Weekly Podcast. Here we talk everything Milan, a international break Milan, a possible injuries Milan, and always faithfully here, Vinny T, Stevie P. We're gonna do a quick one here this Monday, guys. We have talk about, obviously we are dressed in our national colors. You want to get rid of that one first, Steve? Talk about Italy, and I know I came and congratulate you today, but congratulations, il mister. Steve is a mister on his kid. Hopefully, there was no tests of doping after the tournament that you guys won. No doping in your team, but Steve, people were expecting maybe a little something different with Spalletti there. I read one guy saying the only guy that gets a pass is Spalletti because it was his first game. Do you agree with that? What are your takes from the game? I know we have, the Ukraine tomorrow at San Siro, and leave it to Italian media. The only thing they're concentrating on is Donnarumma, San Siro. How is he going to be? It's been years, anyways. But North Macedonia, Steve, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I know we're very critical of the team and the quality of the team, but what did your takeaways from this first game?
Yeah, so the Azzurri are struggling at creating anything offensively. I think they have they seem familiar to Milan from a couple of years ago, where they have no idea what to do in the final third. And guys like Immobile, guys like Zaniolo, who were terrible. Immobile, not so much. I think he was okay in terms of what he got in terms of service, but which wasn't much. And he's a striker that, can he create on his own? Sure. At the national level, I don't think so. So he needs service, and if he doesn't get that, he becomes just another cone. And what we had playing on the field from top to bottom against Northern Macedonia on that potato field was 11 cones. Zaniolo was terrible. Barella, who spoke a lot of smack before the actual game, should be concentrating on playing for the national team when he wears the national jersey, and let everything else on the side remain on the side. Tonali was terrible. Did not look like the Tonali from the first game of Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bastoni also gets a pass. I think Bastoni was very good back there. Donnarumma, shaky again with his feet, but we've known that for quite some time. I just don't think that this Italian team has any character anymore. We're missing
identity. I don't know.
We're missing the Gattusos. We're missing the De Rossis. We're missing the leadership of someone like Del Piero, going back to 2006, knowing his role on the team, the class of Totti. We're not going to see that anymore.
Were you okay with supposedly the calling up of Verratti, but he was out of shape? Do you think if Verratti can bring that maybe stability or that experience in the dressing room?
I think again when Barella plays, Barella is our best midfielder alongside with Verratti, and I think Verratti needs to be there. Now, whatever's happening with him and whatever drama they're creating for him at PSG, which again, he was one of the guys that Serie A let go, and his path took him to PSG. Not like everybody else who jumped on the PSG money train. He was someone that Serie A made a mistake, let him go, and he ended up at PSG. So I'm not saying that he was on vacation at PSG for all this time. He was there from the beginning, one of the first pieces that they bought with, I think, Pastore and Lavezzi and those times. So
We need your chamomile, Marcus, saying that with your voice, a lot of screaming.
yeah. It's not doing me any favors for the podcast tonight, that's for sure. But I sound more like a radio host than a podcaster today. But back to Barella and Verratti. Yes, Verratti needs to be on that pitch. He needs to find space. Again, if he's out of shape, I understand it not calling him up. But to be honest, an out of shape Verratti compared to what we saw against Northern Macedonia, I probably would have taken an out of shape Verratti. The questions have to be asked is, why is he out of shape? I understand he's not playing at PSG. I understand that Luis Enrique is not a fan because he smokes and he goes out dancing, according to the newspapers. I don't know if Luis Enrique checked, but there's probably 80% of the soccer players outside, football players outside of Spain who probably go out and do indulge sometimes. Am I going to say 80% of them smoke? I don't think so, but I don't think that should be a
reason not to be fit or try to
a black mark on why you should not be playing him. So something to find out.
Lab Gorilla was asking on Patreon on the Italy front, do you think it's time to give other keepers a chance? Can you think of an Italian keeper with better feet than Donnarumma? At the time he has spent it on non-competitive environment makes him a liability for me. On the Juve side, how much do you love them? I know that you'd love to save them because they're full of top G's. Sto scherzando. Lo so che sto scherzando, but Steve, I know we're going to get this in the busted X after, but people want to complain about Donnarumma, but who else are you going to be putting out there? Who's out there that's better? He's the one that's the most consistent playing, all year round. But do you see anybody even taking a spot tomorrow? I don't think so.
Again, I think the blame goes on Donnarumma. Now I've seen multiple tweets or I can't call them tweets anymore, more posts, whatever the hell they're called on the new X, where they're looking at Donnarumma getting beat on his post and the wall and where he was positioned. Can we just chalk it up as the guy hit a fantastic free kick? He really hit a nice free kick.
He did. Zaniolo gave up that foul, correct? I believe.
Yeah, and he had no choice. He had to foul him. It was a tactical foul, and they didn't think he was going to come up with a masterpiece like that, and they beat Donnarumma. Now, am I defending Donnarumma? A little bit, yes, because I think he is a good keeper. He's a good shot stopper. We've always said, I'm the first one to admit that he was not good with his feet and still not good with his feet. At this point, I don't think he'll ever be at the level that people want him to be with the ball to foot. So Spalletti's going to have to make that hard decision whether there's other keepers. There is other keepers. Italy has no problem creating keepers. The U21 keeper that we saw this past summer was fantastic. There's been multiple keepers that have been on this Italian national team that don't get a chance because Donnarumma, it took some time and it worked out perfectly because Buffon was there for so long. And now he passed it on to Donnarumma. We're not guaranteed that Donnarumma is another Buffon. And Buffon wasn't very good with his feet either.
No, that's
Buffon
true.
also had a hell of a team in front of him. And Donnarumma doesn't have this hell of a team in front of him. So is he called out more? Yeah, because Italy's losing more and Italy's dropping points more. And we can't, as a nation, afford to not qualify for the Euros that we would be defending. It would be embarrassing.
What do you expect tomorrow? Do you think Spalletti changes anything? Do you think We ain't gonna get a 2-3 nothing win. That's for sure. I think
No.
they tied England, I believe. Ukraine 1-1.
Ukraine did tie England, and that's what complicates things even more. So I think they'll be jacked up for tomorrow. I think Italy will also be jacked up for tomorrow. I hope that they can find in their way to leave it. The national team is in a delicate situation. We don't need side drama on Donnarumma returning to San Siro. It's gonna happen again in the Champions League. If you want to do it, wait it for the Champions League in Milan. I think that would be the right place. San Siro is an important field for the Azzurri team. I would hate for them to remove San Siro as an option, because when we go there, we distract our own keeper from the actual game. I don't know, and I don't feel confident that that's going to happen. I think something will happen, which will be sad. I see Lab Gorilla there. I think Scamacca is injured, but we need to find something different everywhere, except on defense, I think. I think the defense itself is a byproduct of the midfield. I've always said this. I'm a strong believer. You'll have a strong defense if you have a strong midfield. It will protect you. I think our midfield is where we need to see some change tomorrow. Who that will be, I don't know. And whether we like it or not, Juventino or not, Enrico Chiesa is our best player, and he's not there. Whether we like it or not.
I have no argument with that, Steve. When it's a Nazionale, the colors come aside, then yeah, Chiesa is your best player, but what does that say about your national team, you know? Anyways, we shall see what happens tomorrow. On the same front of international breaks, you know, people like the clickbait, right? From Giroud getting a knock, then all of a sudden Theo is a parte and Magna is a parte. Then you got to open up. Then you got to open up. You know, nessun allarme per Theo. Giroud si sarà caluro verso il forfait. Pronto chi era al suo posto tra stasera e mercoledì in campo. See, that's what I love, right? He goes, hey, but by the way, through today and Wednesday, there's going to be Leao, Okafor, Magna, Pulisic, and Musa. That, hey, you know what? Maybe they can get injured as well. And it just seems, anyways, it is the clickbait era. But Steve, what I got from this story for me was, if Giroud was not able to play, this is where the conversation comes back to our mercato, which was a fantastic mercato. But we will talk about that after, Nick. Who's going to start striking? You're facing Inter. For me, a stronger side than Milan from what we've seen so far. You know, so I got to thinking, this is like, what would you do? You would put Leao as a striker, Okafor, and okay, he's going to start.
Jovic. We bought Jovic.
Okay. So start with Jovic, and what does that say? Like, you know, for anyways, it just looks like they're going to be starting, but you know, do they have the 90 minutes in their legs? I don't know. But all this injury news, how did you do you take this with a grain of salt, or
I don't believe it until I see it from the actual club's social media or website. I think that the national team is a delicate situation for everybody. Someone like Hernandez, Giroud, and Magnan want to play for France. Obviously, you don't want to lose your place in France because you have a chance to win a trophy in this tournament coming up, and many more tournaments to come. I don't know that Giroud has many more tournaments to come, but I think Theo and Magnan do. I hate the international break. I think it's terrible at this time, especially this one. I find it ridiculous where these guys put in so much time to get ready for a season, play 3 games, and then have to break to go play with their national team.
And they're going to be playing through winter, right, Steve? No winter break this year.
No winter break this year. You know. So we're really, really putting these players through the ringer, and it's not like for Euro qualifiers they'll try something new. The national teams want to qualify. Italy needs to have their best players. The teams want to have their best players healthy. Milan unluckily have this derby that comes right after the international break. What surprises me is the focus is constantly on injury instead of what's happening in the Euro qualifiers. I think the clickbait era needs to change. It needs to be controlled, and people need to be held accountable for what they say, because it's getting tiresome to look at these articles and someone posts he's hurt, someone posts he's not hurt, someone posts that he got he got pneumonia, someone there's
Malo di
just
Panja,
the
and
mal di pancia. It's just not fun anymore to read about calcio, and I don't know if they're going to understand that in time. It's pretty sad.
It is sad. And look, we have a couple of more days of national break. Game is on Saturday at noon, which is 6 p.m. their time, right? So time to recuperate. I know a couple of guys are back at Milanello. What are you expecting in the derby, Steve, before we move into Juventus news?
I think the derby is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be two teams that are going to go at it. It's right after the international break. It will be sloppy, but the atmosphere of the derby will be something else. I think Inter is going to be very hard to beat, guys. I'm not just saying this
No, Steve, you're
to cause drama. I think Milan's road to possible fourth place or Scudetto winning campaign goes through Inter, and I think Inter's goes through Milan. Now injuries and so on, we say the sprint, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, but Milan have a tough test in a derby where we have something to prove, and Inter also has something to prove. I like when Inter's favorite. I like my derbies when Inter's favorite.
I interviewed, it's going to probably drop on Thursday or Friday, a new Milan club in Hamilton, and he's like, I'm thinking a tie, but a high scoring game. I'm like, okay, I would take that. I would take that. We wake up, Steve, to the news. After 100 years of Agnelli family maybe selling, and then you got to leave it to the media or what. No, let's top that with Pogba facing 2 to 4 years of testosterone doping. I think, you know what? Honestly, for a Juventino, I think it's just time. Just sell, start fresh, because right now there's too much bullshit going around. They started off pretty okay, right? Juve getting the job done, but first off, the news of possibly selling. Do you think it would be a good idea for them, even though, you're trying to look at the analysis of the debts, and this would say like $1.5 billion? Do you actually think they would sell after 100 years of owning this team?
I really doubt that they're gonna sell. I think this is just when you try to put your house out on the market to see how much you could actually get, but you don't really want to sell. This is what they want to do. The Agnelli family, they've had Juve for so much time. And is it time for them to sell? I say absolutely yes, because they're part of the dinosaurs that is Serie A, and they're part of the problem. Will they sell? Absolutely not. And, I disagree with you when you say that they started okay, Juve. I think Juve is in big trouble. I think their brand of soccer is unattractive. I think their players are overrated, and I also think that their fans are starting to feel a little bit of the banter coming, and you see it. You see it in their stadium, whether you like it or not. It's not the fandom that the Milan fans have, the Inter fans have. I'm going to throw in the Napoli fans have as well.
They're in a crisis, Steve.
Juve is in a crisis, but not only that, Juve is not attached to it. They're attached to Torino. But let's face it, Juve is the second team in Torino. They're not the first team of Torino. That's what people forget. Torino actually has a team called Torino. And it's because of pure bad luck that they're just Torino. And I'm just being honest. People are going to get mad, but it's the truth. Juve was a byproduct of that misfortune. And what happens now is that now you're going through a tough time. Now what you were able to get away with, and I'm pretty sure other teams got away with, and now you're not able to get away with anymore. Your actual company that owns Juventus is having trouble with the books. And now, as we've seen in Serie A, your books need to be intact. And if they're not intact, you go through banter errors, you go through problem years, and it's hard to deal with. And it's hard for a Juventino to deal with, because we as Milan fans know, because we went through it.
For
The
way too
banter
many
years
years.
of a club are very hard to go through.
And this is not the Calciopoli,
No.
Steve, that then they got the, the Amauri and the Cruz. What was his name there? Mila Krasic. They won the Scudetto like 4 years after that. So, what do you do with Pogba? Like, this guy has, what does he play? 3 games in 2 years?
I think maybe 150 minutes in 3 years.
I don't even know what the rules are. Maybe somebody can tell us. He gets fired? Like, no
He
salary?
gets suspended. He gets suspended. Yeah, from what I read, he has the right to have a reanalysis of that test that's being done. Once the reanalysis is done, if it's positive again, he gets trialed by the anti-doping agency. Same thing like an Olympic track star. I'm saying track, but I'm saying an Olympic athlete, where he's gonna have to pay the piper. And what we've seen from that and the article that I read, it's a plea agreement, and it's a couple of we're talking years of suspension, years that he doesn't have at 30
Didn't he
years
say I was thinking about retiring? I think, you know what, after that whole fiasco with his brother, because Pogba was not a bad player, guys. Let's be honest. At some point, even playing almost at the world-class level.
Pogba is not a bad player. Pogba is caught in the generation that we are now, where it's about Pogba and not about anybody else.
No, Nick, I think this is like a FIFA ban. You can't play soccer anywhere.
Nick will be like I said, like an Olympic ban, where he's not going to be able to compete at the Olympics. He's not going to be able to compete at other track and field stars.
Onana, when did Onana get substance? Maybe before he moved over to. Anyways,
don't know.
I think there's going to be a lot more consequences for.
Hold on.
Oh.
There's a twist.
Oh, Steve, please do tell.
This could also be nothing. Right. If they test this and it's a mistake, well, then if
this is a mistake, this is bad.
Yeah, then it's a problem. But do we pass this by our lovely friends at Serie A? I don't. That's why I'm sitting back, and I hope he's not suspended, because I enjoy the Pogba. I enjoy when Pogba's good, and I wish that he would be able to play again in Serie A, because you need characters like that, whether we like it or not, whether he plays with Juventus or not. The thing is that this is now we've gone to a different level of what they brand, and again, I have my own thoughts on doping and so on and so forth, but I hope it's a mistake. It's gonna look stupid for Serie A, which I'll laugh again.
That would be
but for Juve and for Serie A, you'd rather someone like Pogba be healthy and be able to contribute and be able to play. We're not saying we're getting the Pogba from his first stint at Juventus, but guys, now it's getting comical. The league in itself has its own problems, and everybody who's coming here have more and more problems.
Guys, that's the most of the news that we've had, but we have a couple of busted posts. Steve, is that the busted posts?
Busted posts, I guess.
But what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna leave. And by the way, Jan is going to be flying away to Lebanon. We'll be watching the derby live in Lebanon with the Milan club there. Hopefully, said he's gonna give us a FaceTime once he gets there. But I wanted to pop him up and get Jan's commentary, and then we're gonna go back and see and discuss what he left us. So here we go.
So for the busted cultural tweets.
Hold on a second.
Cultural tweets. We have the first one's Mudryk. He's that guy from Chelsea that they got from Ukraine for $100 million. He's garbage. There's one about Pie-IX being called to the national team. Why the fuck are we talking about a backup goaltender to play at the national team level? IFTV, you're busted. Then there's De La Feu tweet. The guy was not that great. He got to move to Barca. That ended up going to Watford after 3 months. So he was not that great. I don't know what this guy's on drugs about. It was the De La Feu tweet was about a guy that came in with low expectation but did a lot. He didn't do much for us. I'm sorry. Just our team was so shit back then. We thought he was great. Then there's one about Rabiot thinking he should be in the Golden Globe, Golden Boot, or whatever the freaking Ballon d'Or conversation. I heard another idiot over there. The last tweet I put about from Carlo Garganese is about the amount of Italian players on each Italian team. You guys can have a discussion about that. To me, I find it's busted because if teams are supposed to compete with the best in Europe, you're going to really take guys that missed 2 World Cups to put them on your team. I'm sorry, we just don't have the talent to compete with the Man Cities and everything if we're going to solely put Italians, especially the Italians from the national team. Sorry, not a big fan of any of them. Maybe just Tonali, Barella, and Fratesi. The rest of them can all go to the garbage, personally. They're pretty shit. And that's about it. Have fun with it, boys, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's start with this one here. I get what he's trying to say, but thanks, Mike. This goes deep. This goes very deep into, the rules and regulations of IGC. I was having a conversation with Mike's dad, the interista, this morning, and I was trying to remind. He's like, I go, ma quando hanno cambiato le regole? Like when it was the Van Basten days, you only had 3-4 stranieri, everybody had to be homegrown. And he thinks it maybe changed I think he is maybe in the mid-90s. But, the cost of Italian players, like how a Domenico Berardi needs 40 million euros and you're getting players that are on paper better than him for half that price. But it's, excuse me, Steve, this is quite striking. Which team here has the most Italian players?
Udine.
No, that's 30 are foreigners. 30 out of 35
30
are foreigners.
out of 35 are foreigners.
So you have
So
Frosinone.
it would be Cagliari or Juve.
Yeah. Juve 12, half of the team at this must change.
Well, it must change, Vinny. That's
how
it's
like
not gonna
I get
change.
what he's saying, but how's it going to change?
It's not going to change.
It's not going to change
The
until
sport
they change
is global now. If this goes down to, Carlo is very easy for him to say this must change. Though all these teams need to change the way they operate then. Because they need to be able to provide, in Europe, it's, Scuola Calcio, and then there's the academy. That's the way it works. But a Scuola Calcio, in a time where things have changed now, it's about money. And there's so many people that come to Italy because, they want to go to the Cagliari Scuola Calcio, the academy. They want to go to the Udine Academy, Lecce, because that's where they have a chance. They understand that the Milan, Juve, Inter, Napoli, Roma, Lazio, they have to win. They have to win now. So this change is going to be impossible if there's always a financial noose around everybody's neck. So you need to win, but you can't win because you don't have the time to grow, you grow talent in your own backyard. And people are going to say, oh, but Atalanta finds gems. Exactly. Atalanta finds gems, doesn't grow gems.
Finds them. And you know what, Steve? Let's say they change tomorrow morning, the rulings. You're looking at least a 10-year turnaround time. The way Germany did in 2006, no?
Germany is again very, very complicated. In Germany, everybody who brings up Germany, I point out there's Polish people that are German naturalized. There's different, Turkish people have become German national. And the same thing is happening to Italy. The game is global. The borders, especially in Europe, are open. Immigration is something that started happening and intensified over the past couple of years. There is, people from that their parents are from other nations.
Thanks, Ryan.
That are obvious obvious Italians. That they immigrated to Italy. They had a kid or two, and that kid is now Italian. That's fine. But
I
they
think
always
you
have a choice, because you always have there's different double passports. There's so many things that could it's again, it's at the local level. It's at the youth soccer. If people like Baggio have gone to the FIGC and they've asked him to do a look around and how they can improve things, and after a couple of months he's like, I'm out of here. These guys don't want to listen to me and don't want anything to do with what needs to be changed to help improve soccer in Italy. Well, then what's the solution?
long gone are the days of a guy like Giuseppe Rossi that sacrificed everything because he wanted to have that chance to play for La Nazionale. I don't see any players like giving up like an American that's the way he did it, right? He had every chance to play for the States. He would have been a superstar there, but he gave that chance to play for Italy. But anyways, for me, not busted, but let's take a look at his first one. So Modric will cook in Serie A. That's the new thing the kids are saying nowadays. They'll cook in Serie A. You can't compare EPL to Serie A. There's 50% chance that people that ball in Serie A won't ball in EPL, but 90% chance that people that ball in the EPL will ball in Serie A.
This guy's a ham. He's going to cook ham. That's what he's going to do. He's going to cook ham. I'm so fed up of this EPL shit. It's unbelievable. I'm so fed up of it. I watch all the time. Your soccer, your football sucks of royal ass.
But Steve, it's getting to people. Even the old men, the EPL, it's so exciting. There's balls all over the place. They're going back and forth. I'm like, hey, to everybody, whatever they want, tactics. I go, but England, what has England done? Anyways, but yeah, this guy, so he's cooking ham, as you're saying.
It's $100 million cook. That's what he is. He's $100 million cook who's gonna cook you ham.
All right, thank you very much at Chappie Studio. With the amount of talent the Azzurri have in goal, should someone get a shot over Donnarumma? Vicario, probably, but Perin. Why would Perin, who is a backup at Juve, barely plays, have a chance to, start for the national team?
Yeah,
or maybe
who highlighted Perin? Is it IFTV that highlighted
no, that's
Perin or Jan?
Yeah.
Okay, but he's just there, so it's not IFTV's busted tweet. He's just one
Who
of the
would you
four
put
options.
Out of all those four?
Well, those are the four goalers that he called, right?
Yeah.
If those are the four goalers that he called, it's not a busted tweet. It's just one of the options. It's not their fault that Spalletti called Perin.
Jan's views are his own.
He would never get a chance for me. For honestly, I would go with Meret, just because he plays in Italy, he plays at Napoli. Then it would be Vicario, and I have no confidence in Provadel right now. And I think that this should change, and I hope Spalletti does it moving forward. There's young goalers that need to sit on the bench to watch, and I don't think
there.
Yeah, and I don't think any of these goalers at this point. Again, I have honorable mention for Meret, which I don't think he's a better goaler, but he's won a Scudetto now. He's gone through the ringer. He's made it to the semifinals of. No, not semifinals. He got beat by Milan, but he's made it far in Champions League, where I think maybe he would be able to take
the experience,
take that experience and maybe play at the national level. But the other ones are just going to need to get some more experience, and I don't think any of them are better than Donnarumma right now.
I believe that. King for half a season, played like Robin in his prime, but not just like Robin, Steve, like Robin in his prime, and earned a move to Barca at the end of it.
There's no earned the move to Barca. He was owned by Barca and loaned to us.
Yes,
they just bought him back.
People seem to forget about that, and we remember when Nima had told us about the whole Yong Hong Lee, how the wool was pulled over our eyes.
Yeah,
this is the perfect proof, because the team was shit, Steve. The team was shit, and I'm not taking anything away from Deulofeu. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but to put him on a pedestal with Arjen Robben in his prime, And then what did he go? Watford or something? Yeah, he went back, but he was never able to
he
be
went
consistent.
to Watford, but Watford and Udine are all owned by the same
owners.
owner. So that's why he ended up back at Udine. I think it was a money move. I didn't mind Deulofeu, actually. I think even at Udine, before him getting hurt, I think he's a good player. I just don't think he's prime Arjen Robben. And Arjen Robben was only one-footed player. Imagine if he played with 2 feet.
Imagine. For me, obviously, this is going to be my busted one. Rabiot to l'équipe. I think I had a chance to be included in the Ballon d'Or top 30 list. I had an excellent season at an individual level. Now, Steve, I like to ask sometimes, to people, in what dream world do you live in? Like, where does Rabiot come up with that he thinks he would have deserved to be in the top 30 list?
This is the winner, obviously.
Yeah.
But this is when your mother's your agent, and your mother is too cheap to get a PR agent to stop you from saying stupidity like this to l'équipe, because what l'équipe will do is just post it because it's obviously going to get a lot of attraction.
This is Forza Juventus English.
Yes, imagine. So it's translated from l'équipe. So can we even trust Forza Juventus English? We don't know. But let's take it that they did translate it properly. Rabiot is a player that unfortunately, he's his own worst enemy. And his own worst enemy is that when he talks or his mother talks, everybody gets just turned off by his actual talent, because he is talented.
He's shown a lot of,
but he's not talented. He's not talented enough to be in the top 30 of the Ballon d'Or.
No, definitely not. And for me, that's got to be my winner. And good discussion on this one here. So definitely Rabiot, thinking he's worth top 30 in this, what did he call it? The Golden Globe. The Golden Globe. That's what he was.
Jan's Golden Globe.
Steve, on that note, I know we have multiple clubs around the world that will be getting together. Fabio is going to be in Phoenix, and to our friend Nico, best in your future.
Fabio's in Phoenix.
Fabio's in Phoenix, and I know.
This
Milan
guy has a lot of money, man. Wow.
And good luck, Nico. I know you told us in the group you had to move, and you got to do what's good for your family. You know what? You just got to start new Milan clubs around the world. Milan Club New York, obviously, we're going to be there. Toronto is getting together. Montreal is getting together. I know the timing is not perfect, but hopefully we all enjoy a good game. I know it's a terrible, terrible timing, but it is what it is. But Steve, we have the morning. What is it? Lazio Juve to start. Lazio Juve, and then Napoli Genoa 2:45, I believe.
Yeah, we got to put Napoli Genoa, that 2:45 action-packed game that's going to happen, where it's going to finish 7-0 Napoli over the derby.
That could be also another busted decision from Serie A. You just came back from a Euro derby. Eyes of the world are on you. Let's put this game at 6 p.m. European time. It's good for everybody. It is what it is. Stevie, we will see each other next Monday. Patreon members, we will see each other for a pregame chat on Saturday, as usual, 90 minutes before game time. Stay tuned if Gio and maybe Fabio live from Phoenix. I don't know where coast to coast, Midwest. I don't know.
Fantastic. Fabio in Phoenix. I hope he's wearing a tank top.
I would like to see that. Please, exclusive to a Patreon, Fabio. And on that note, ovunque e sempre.
Forza Milan!
Ciao, guys.